Everybody.
Welcome back.
Yep. So, Stephanie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and go ahead tell us your herb origin story.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Risberg. I own Greenacres Exotics. Well, I have mostly smaller type species of geckos, not any of the large ones. I guess my largest one are the Europlatus sacores. My herb story is probably different than anybody you've probably had on. Most people probably started at a young age, and at least the ones I've been watching on your recordings. I grew up on a farm in the country of Alabama, talking cows and horses and pigs and chickens and goats. Reptiles weren't big thing in that area. Of course, my brother and I loved going out and crawdad hunting and playing with geckos or any of the anoles or whatever we could find. Now, snakes, that was not my thing. I've actually been terrified of snakes my entire life, but through self-education, I've gotten to gain a very good respect of them. So my reptile introduction started later in life. And it was as a result of my son. He was in 4th grade and they had classroom pets. So every weekend, somebody got to bring the pet home. Well, I was already into isopod and millipede. So I was breeding both at the time and some of the bigger roaches. And he brought home it was a leopard gecko. So we got the leopard gecko, and it was just the sweetest little thing. So that got us all wanting a leopard gecko. So I got one. One turned into 2. And then I came across fat tails, which I love fat tails, African fat tails. They are just where I'd have every one I could. And I've got more than I should have. But that's what got me started breeding, were the African fat tails. I love the Emils, and my true love are the zeros. I think zeros are really underrated.
Okay.
So I started that about 7 years ago, as far as having geckos as pets. And I kept wanting to breed them, and I was just so scared. And I had two people that offered to mentor me. So Candace of Candy's Cresties, and then Seth of good grief, I'm totally drawing a blank. I am sorry, Seth. Of Huff's Herbs. So they have both been phenomenal, helping me. And any question, it's hard to find a lot of information, and some people are super secretive about things, but not these two. These two are very free with their knowledge, and I still reach out to them, and they're both just, Johnny on the spot, helping me whenever I can. So about 3 years ago, I started into African fat tail breeding, and I went gangbuster starting on that, and then I fell in love. I saw the Strophaurus and the Australian species, as well as all of the Europlatus, and I was just hook, line, sinker. The cutest little geckos. So I started getting Fantasticus, Europlatus Fantasticus, and then as I was looking for some of the Strophaurus, I was working with Joe Hupp and Phil Trimper, and then Jonathan DeBoer of Gecko's Geckos. And I ran across the Diplodactys. They had it on the list, and I started looking those up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, those are just so cute. Why don't you find more of them? And with African fat tails, there's so many breeders out there. It's gotten to the point where there's one or two breeders in particular that overproduce and have really brought the market down. Even for some of the species I bought 5 years ago. It's down to nothing now. But I'm not doing this for the money. Don't get me wrong. I thoroughly enjoy being able to have a gecko thrive and, produce offspring and be able to see that result. That is so satisfying to be able to see that I can give them what I feel like they're having a fulfilled life. Instead of just, sitting in a tank, bland tank, just paper towels and something to eat and drink. But I've been doing that. I've pretty much got everyone a mate now, except for
Nice.
one of my Australian species, the chameleon gecko. I'm still looking for him a mate, as well as my Europlatus
Gotcha.
pygmy.
Yeah. Nice.
So
Yeah.
it's
So you're talking
like I
about
said,
that? Was it that Carphodactylus levis?
yeah. And I had I
Yeah.
did have a
Yeah. Those are
female,
really hard to come by.
and I have it broke my heart. I really haven't shared this with anybody, but I had bought her, had her for just a couple of weeks, and we went out of town. And I do what I call in Wellness Wednesdays. So I go through, and the babies or the younger ones or any new ones coming in, I check them every Wednesday to make sure they're gaining weight, they don't have any issues. I don't do this as much with the adults. I do make sure there's a head count and look at them. May not get them out of the tank, but just make sure everybody's there. But the smaller ones, I weigh in and everything just to make sure they're thriving. And I went to get her out, and I noticed one of the branches had fallen, and it had fallen and broken her neck. And
Ooh.
somebody had told me about one of their Fantasticus dying that way. And I okay, so I great stuff everything in silicone, thinking it's not going to
Yeah.
happen to me. But I obviously didn't rough up the PVC enough or something, and it came loose. I guess all the humidity just made it
Dang.
break loose. That was $1,500 down the drain. So I'm still
Ouch.
on the lookout. I've got Landon said he at Geckoland.
Gigalando.
Yeah. He said he may have
Gigalando.
some.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
And
about. Yeah.
then I've got line of sight to a couple. So I'm hoping to be able to get a female, before the end of the year. And of course it takes 2 years for them to mature, but that's okay.
Really, that quick? I didn't even know it was that quick.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I usually, with a lot of my geckos, I try and wait till they're actually 6 months beyond what people consider mature. Like my fat tails, they'll mature in 12 months, but I want them to be 2 years. They're not ready when they're first mature, in my opinion. I want to make sure they've got a lot of good weight on them, size to them, and they're not going to struggle with their first clutch. So,
Gotcha. Okay. So today we're talking some Diplodactylus and some Lucasium today. I would say. So how many species of Diplodactylus are there, and like which ones are really represented in the U.S.?
So there's about either 7 or 8. I wish Pulsar was here, but I haven't found those. There's really only the Furcosis, Vitatus, or Vitatus, Galateus, and I'm terrible with Latin names, and then the Granarius Rex. I just say G Rex.
Okay, yeah.
And
that's so much easier. That's the only part of that one I know is the Rex part.
So I have those 4. I've not seen any of the others in the trade in North America. Now, it doesn't mean they're not here. They could be in Canada, or I've not seen any new imports, given the fact that they've got bans on them. So,
yeah,
yep,
they're on CITES, right?
Yeah, they are. So, it's hard when you're thinking about breeding and genetics and making sure you have good, healthy offspring. I worry for the longevity of some of these species, because until there's some additional genetics brought in. Now the Diplodactylus I'll say it oh Lord have mercy, Galatus, which is there in the middle. There were some imports from Europe not too long ago that were captive bred. It's been, I don't know, about 5 years ago. So there was some new blood brought in. But when you talk to a lot of the guys like Mike T of Mike's Gecko Room, or Phil and Joe and those guys, a lot of them share or have common ancestors. So I
Yeah,
worry about the genetics and the longevity of those species.
definitely. Yeah, I feel the same way about stropharis as well.
Yeah.
Just I mean, it's only so much we can get in, right? Especially
Yep.
with them being on CITES and Australia doesn't like to import.
Yeah. And I had
But
a friend that was trying to import some from Canada, and that happened. And he's
yeah,
like, there, I'm just hoping I can get somebody up there to buy them and maybe find some here in the States. So,
yeah, yeah. I think who was trying to get some? They were actually trying to get some those stropharis ciliaris aberrants. I think it was
oh my
John who was actually
gosh.
trying to get those. I don't even know. Yeah,
I
yeah,
heard a
those are
rumor,
really
but
wicked looking. And
I won't
you say,
proliferate it. But I heard that there's someone in the US that has them. Well,
oh,
I
I
think
know. Oh, I know. Phil
there's
has some.
huh?
Yeah, I know Phil has them
Oh, he does.
because he's
That's
showing
the
them
rumor
off.
I
I've
heard.
seen.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's showing them off on his IG page, so he definitely has them.
yeah, I really like working
Yeah,
with Phil. He is, I mean, last year we were talking Diplodactys, and I'm like, okay, if you have these kind of babies this year, please let me know. I mean, I'm on hands and knees. And he's like, I'll save them for you. No problem. And
yeah.
so before it was time for Tinley, he said, Stephanie, what do you want? I've got this. And I'm like, yes, 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 yes. So,
It's hard to say
um,
no, right?
yeah. I'm like, let me
So,
sell some
so what are you
geckos.
looking for,
Huh?
right? So when you're getting like when you're looking for Diplodactylus, what kind of things are you looking for in their structure and stuff like that?
So I try to make sure, I look at their hands, make sure there aren't any, nubby fingers or anything, just as far as a
Hmm.
lot of these Diplodactys have issues with stuck shed, which I mean, you can deal with. Want to make sure they're
Yeah,
good and healthy. I mean, sometimes you'll find gecko you want and it's just so skinny. But I've been fortunate with Hup and Trimper and DeBoer and Mike Torreson. Is that how you say his last
I know what
name?
you're talking about. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That,
Say
that
Mike to you.
I've only gotten good geckos that were healthy and I didn't have to worry about, they're all captive bred. None of them been at this point. I don't even know if there are even any wild caught left here in the States. Um,
I doubt it.
yeah. So I try to ask questions, and not everybody's forthcoming about where they got them from, but
Hmm.
I really try to ask questions so I can see what kind of genetics I do have. Did you get it from Huck? Did you get it
Yeah,
from Trip? Who did you get it from? And because I know a lot of those guys have gone back and forth and with geckos. But I was fortunate with my
yeah,
Galileus that I got one that was European, that was from a European import about 4 or 5 years ago, and then the other one
yeah. Okay,
was here
nice,
in the States. So
nice. All right. From like a pet keeper perspective, right? Can you kind of go over how you would set them up for like a long, no, a long happy life instead of no,
yeah,
instead of us thinking of through a breeder perspective,
yeah.
through a pet keeper's
So
perspective on that one.
I may be one of the weird ones out. I don't use racks, and there's nothing against people that do. I mean, I prefer. You can see you can see my ciliaris sitting there peeking into one of the PVCs. I like to try and set up
Yeah.
bioactive. Um, so
Okay.
I or the Diplodactys are primarily from like scrubland. A lot of people use sand, and I do use sand
Hmm.
in um part of my bins, or not my bins, my cages. I do it as a transition over into kind of a dirt area. So I add in
Hmm.
springtail and powder blues or oranges or whatever, or sometimes it's giant canyons, to give them something else to be able to chase when they don't have crickets or mealworms or whatever I've put in there for the day. I like, most people like to use heat mats for them, but I don't. I use UVB. So I find that they love to bask under the UVB. They will climb to the highest point in the cage. And these guys, I'm keeping them in probably a little smaller than I'd like. They're in 10 by 18s that are 12 inches tall. And they'll climb all the way up to the UVB where it's 92 degrees, which, looking at the Weather Channel and iNat and all of those where they're actually found, they're usually in where it's in the 80s, 70s at night, whatever. But these guys love getting up there, and especially the little furcosis. I always find them up at the tip top. So I really like
I
to
did
be
not
able
know
to
that.
give them some, I don't know if it's enrichment or just makes me feel better. I hope it makes them have a more fulfilled life, but give them plenty of space and give them, areas to climb and real plants and stuff they can actually hunt in their own cages.
Yeah. What kind of plants you're using in that kind of environment?
So I've got some snake plants in there. In the end that I keep a little damper and that stays a little cooler, I've got pothos in there, which is a little,
Okay.
Little iffy, but it usually thrives. There's some Hoya that have done pretty well in there too, and I like it because the leaves kind of cup and it'll make like a water dish for them, and they're firm enough that they can climb them. So they'll climb the cork bark. They'll climb. They're terrestrial geckos. They don't have adhesion on their fingers or anything. So they need
Do they
something
have
that
claws
they
or
can.
anything?
They do have no. Yeah, they do have little claws. I have to think about that for a minute.
Okay. Because if they're kind of climbing, they probably have
Yeah,
something a little bit to grip
yeah.
onto the branches
So
and everything.
I'll usually use the really thin cork barks that they're hollow that they can go through
Okay.
and use them as hides
Mm-hmm.
and tunnels to get up to the next level if they want to. And then there'll be branches in there that they'll just climb up to and bask. But
That's dope. I did not know that. That's pretty cool. But hey, Ant, you got anything, man?
Yeah, what the common name for these would be? These are velvet geckos. The common name.
no, most of them are some type of stone gecko. So if you
Stone.
look, yeah, so or helmeted. So the Galatus
Okay.
are considered helmeted geckos. The Granarius are a western stone, and then the Vitatus are eastern stone. So you'll see a lot of them referred to as stone geckos.
All the species are from Australia. I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah. And
Are they all around the size?
Pardon?
Are they all around the same size, or
Yeah,
are
they are.
any of the species a little big?
So they max out about 2.5, 3 inches as adults. So they're not big. I'd call them a micro gecko.
I was about to
Like
ask, you consider them that?
Yeah, the babies that hatched this weekend were like 0.41 grams. So they're teeny. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Wow.
So where do you feed, like for babies that size, what are you feeding them?
So I use pinheads some, dwarf whites. You can use flightless fruit flies.
Okay.
I've got so many different feeders. Even the lesser mealworms and the lesser mealworm beetles, not necessarily for these guys, but for their parents. And then
Okay.
I was going to show you this. Sometimes I use bean beetles. That's another one that I like to use because they're pretty
Okay.
slow.
Yeah.
You just got to make sure you use mesh, otherwise you're going to have bean beetles all over the house. All right, so
Yeah.
let me see if I can get
I
him
learned
up.
that with the hard way.
Can you see that little baby on the
Good
tip of my
Lord, that thing
phone?
is tiny.
Uh-huh.
Tiny.
He's even smaller than the some of the leaf-tailed geckos that I have had hatch.
That's
How
amazing.
old is that one?
Just a couple of days old. So
Okay. Yeah, that's like almost that's pretty much the size of like an intermedius right there. Maybe I
yeah,
mean
my
they almost might be like
the Spinogeris were
maybe
larger
small.
than these when they were born. Now the eggs are
Oh
small,
wow.
are a little smaller than the Ciliaris and the others. They do.
Yeah.
So you know how some eggs. Do you have any Europlatus species?
Uh no, I
No.
don't.
No. So Europlatus species,
Yeah.
when they lay eggs, they stay the same weight the whole time. They never change
Oh
weight.
wow.
But you know, with the
Interesting.
Stropharis and the Diplodactys and fat tails, they get bigger, heavier throughout the whole
Yeah.
incubation process. Not that these get massive, but they do gain in
You know, I
size.
mean they double in size by the
Yeah.
time they're ready to
Oh
hatch.
yeah.
Huh.
So
I wonder why
it's
that is.
it's the same thing with the Sicores and
Cool.
the other Europlatus, the Fieras and everything that I breed. They stay the same. And you can pretty much tell if it's a fertile egg or not with a Europlatus by the weight. If it's less than 0.4 grams, it's probably not fertile. So
Okay. Good to
Interesting.
know. So from well, so now let's kind of kick it into a breeder point of view, right? Uh now would they do well in a rack setup if someone chose to like I want to do this in like I guess a
they would.
a bigger production?
Yeah, they would.
Okay.
Especially if you're using sand. I don't know
Okay.
how many people use sand in their racks, but they really that's where they like to lay their eggs. I've actually gotten my girls to all
Okay.
finally use humid hides and lay boxes. All my Diplodactys girls, not my my Stropharis hate
Okay.
to use the lay boxes. They make me hunt.
Really? Mine,
Yeah,
that's all they ever use. Yeah, that's all mine ever use. If I don't have one in there, like, well, I would say my female ciliaris, when I had her, she would like kind of drop her bad eggs wherever. But if she
yeah.
does have a good egg, she goes straight into her little lay bin. All only ones that
My
don't go use lay bins for me are my chihuahuas. They
my
refuse it.
my Stropharis was just as soon climb or crawl under the lay bin and lay it under the lay bin than in it. And I've tried
Oh man.
them with the holes on top, holes inside, like a little cave. I've tried sand. I've
Yeah.
tried sand and cocoa. I've tried all sorts of things just to see if I could get them, if it was the media I was using or what. And I'm like, girls, come
Yeah.
on, don't make me dig every day. But I did find that I could use
Yeah. Come on, get with the program.
a hide without a bottom, smooth the sand out really nice and smooth, make it a little damp there. And I finally got them to lay under those specific hides where all I have to do is pick it up when it comes time to see if they've laid. And if it's been stirred at all, I know they've dug in there. But my Tanacotta has laid eggs 3 weeks in a row, which is, I don't know why.
Oh wow.
The last set were duds, or
Like
not duds, but infertile, I guess. They look normal, but she
yeah,
hit them
okay.
and everything like she did the previous ones. I don't know what's got her in overdrive.
No.
Is that 2 egg clutches every week? 2 egg double egg clutch?
Well, typically they'll do it once every month. Some of them are 22 to 30 something days. I keep it all in a spreadsheet. I'm weird. Um, That way I know what, around what day to go start hunting for them. But she is, I don't know what's got her going where she's laying once a week now. I'm like, please stop, because I want
Oh,
I want them to be good eggs, not
yeah, for real.
eggs that are going to cave and mold.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that, and you don't want to stress her out too much.
No, but they're all funny little geckos. They've all got such little cute personalities.
Yeah, I love the Galliatus. Like that face is just adorable. Oh, like if you put a gecko in front of someone and it's that, they're gonna fall in love with it.
Oh yeah, they
Like
are.
where you at?
And my little female, she keeps getting so stinking fat. It's unreal. I'm like, girl. But so they've laid duds. I've
Oh
not
yeah,
gotten a good set of eggs out of them. Right now. I can see that she's got eggs, and she should be laying soon. But they're an older pair, because they're from like 4 or 5 years
yeah.
ago. They were just never bred before I got them. The guy only had a male, and the other guy only had a female. So I actually traded a black female Ciliaris for the female Galliatus.
Oh really?
Galliatus. Ah, there's my feathers.
What are these? Yeah, I will say, what are
I
these?
told you I breed millipede too. I'm a weirdo.
Yeah.
So this is a native North American millipede. It's called a feather millipede, is common. Brachybilaconte. But they're sightless. They have no eyes, and they feed on fungus. They don't get real
Really?
large. They're about inch and a half long, but they're just really cool little millipedes. People love them.
Oh, they just look like some weird. Yeah, they just look like some organisms you'll see like in a sci-fi movie or something.
Hey,
It's
I've got
cool.
Those are
millipedes
really
that are
cool though. I
bigger
like
than my
those.
Diplodactys.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm definitely sure about that.
I've got some
Oh man.
gigas, some big African guys too. So, um,
Can you
Yeah.
use part of like a bioactive like setup, like a cleanup crew, if you will?
yeah. So I've got all my Europlatus, all my Strophurus, and Diplodactys are in bioactive, and I use mostly powder blues, powder oranges, whatever. In my Sakurays and some of the bigger gecko tanks, I use giant canyons. That way, they're obvious feeders. Plus, they breed like crazy. They do
Yeah.
well
Okay.
in the more wet environment, where your powder orange and powder blue, those are going to do better in your arid environments. But I use it. I even put
Let me ask
mealworms
you
in there
something.
sometimes.
Yeah, I do that too.
Can you use these millipedes though? Is what I was asking. Can you use the
Oh
millipedes
no,
for
no.
for?
So you could probably put these in there, but most millipede, they got two defense mechanisms. They'll either curl up, or they will exude a toxin out of their pores. Now, for us, it's not going to hurt us for the most part. There are some that what they exude is strong enough to cause skin burns or chemical burns, but for the most part, they aren't. It would taste really bad and be really stinky if they tried to eat them. I've never tried putting them in, just knowing that some of it's cyanide. Some of them produce other types of chemicals. So I just don't use these in a
Okay.
bioactive.
Makes sense.
They're cool looking though. That's all I gotta say. Like, man,
Yeah.
it's out of a sci-fi magazine right there. It's really cool.
So I'm one of the odd
So
ones.
like you were
My
talking about
family all
your
think I'm crazy because between millipede.
that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. You do some cool stuff, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
So
my
you're
husband's.
talking about bioactive, right? For like even your arid stuff, right?
Yeah.
So can you kind of give a little breakdown of what your substrate is and how you layer it for an arid one? I've been
Um.
struggling with that, so I'm kind of interested.
Yeah. So what I try to do is I'll have one end of the tank will be just all sand, and then you know how
Hmm.
when you're out in the dry area or a scrubland, it will be kind of rocky, gravelly, and some dirt mixed in here and there. So I'll kind
Yeah.
of start blending it a little bit as you get toward the front. That way, as I'm spraying,
Okay.
I focus more on spraying the front of it. The guys that are more
Okay.
tropical, I use sometimes I do use spent millipede soil and occasionally find a millipede roaming in there. Um, Sometimes it'll be a year later after I've put it in storage and another egg will hatch for some reason. That's one reason you don't just dump your soil out, because you could put a
You find something.
Philippine
Yep.
millipede here. But for the most part, I'll use organic topsoil mixed with if it's I don't use cocoa fiber with any of my millipede, but I do sometimes with roaches. I have a variety
Okay.
of roaches that I feed and I breed specifically for it. I've got discoids, dubias, and little canyons, and I've got another little roach I don't even know the name of that I breed for some of the smaller gecko species. But I
Nice.
got from the invert dude. Um, but I usually try and use something that's organic topsoil and then add stuff that I know they will eat. I may crumble up leaves in it, um, or even some of my flake soil. So I make flake soil specifically for my millipede. My husband thinks I'm nuts. He said, "You make."
What is flake soil?
So a lot of people
So
that
you
make
make a soil?
so a lot of people will use flake soil that breed beetle. It's a So for millipede
Okay.
to be able to get the nutrients out of wood, the lignin has to be broken down. So you take at oak um, sawdust or pellets or whatever, soak them, add in wheat bran or flour, and then put an agent. I use molicum and as well as yeast to get it to ferment. So you get it fermenting where it starts breaking down the lignin in the structures to make it where the millipede can access the nutrients that they need. So in the wild, they would be eating
Wow.
rotten wood and decayed organic materials. So that's what I'm trying to replicate for the millipede, as well as the other
Okay.
detrivores that I use as in bioactives. Because I'll put some of the
Nice.
roaches in there
I'll be.
too, to
Yeah.
just roam.
Okay.
If it's
That's
got, as long as it's got a good
nice, right?
seal around it, where I know they're not going to get out in the house.
Get out. Yeah.
And here,
Can't
my
have those
husband,
roaches getting everywhere.
Jess,
Like my wife. I get texts
Hey.
and phone calls. There's a bug under a cup.
get your damn roach. I'm like,
Yep. Right.
you know my roaches, and that's not one of my roaches. How can you tell?
Yeah.
There's a difference.
So for back to the geckos, when does like their breeding season typically start? Well, I mean, for you, when does your season start for them, and
Yep.
how are you getting them prepared before the season actually starts?
Yep. So, um, for I will say I cohab year round. Once they're mature and
Huh.
of age, as long as they're getting
Oh, that's
along, and
awesome.
he's
What
not.
is that?
Oh Lord, that's my zebra kiss.
What is that?
Oh,
Gee, that's
yes.
I
Oh,
was love, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
She's freaking
That's
out.
on the
That was
list.
What is
if you could hear it, she chirps and she squeals.
what species?
There we go.
Oh, you're
I'll
gonna make
figure it
me
out.
say it, aren't you? Cyrodactylus zebricus.
Cervidacula. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a
So
common name or something?
It's like a
these are
Pingo Forest lizard or Pingo Forest gecko or something like that.
pingo
That's right.
forest. These
Forest gecko.
and I'm waiting. You may hear the male soon. So this is Birdie in the picture here, but the male's up
Yeah.
here in the top.
That gecko.
And he will start chirping and chirping, and he will drive you nuts.
Yeah.
Because my bedroom's right
That's
here.
what mine does.
So I'm like, dude.
It's one of the most. That gecko is gorgeous.
Yeah, they
Like
are.
a little
They
leopard
are.
or like a gorgeous.
Yep. I have heard them
Yeah.
call them ocelot geckos, but I don't see that very often.
Yeah.
But maybe
They got
the
a lot
male
of
will give you a
names.
show here in a little bit, and you can hear him chirping. My husband came in the other night after I'd gotten him a couple of weeks. He said, "There is this bird that's outside the window, and he is so loud. Have you heard him?" And I just started laughing. And he said, "That's not a bird, is it?" Oh, that's my new gecko.
It's like, no, just get used to it. That's all you gotta learn. No, you just gotta get used to it. That's all. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm in that
Lord.
same boat with my nebulosus. Like my male just boom, 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 just keeps on chirping and chirping and chirping. Like usually it's around like 7 o'clock. He'll start doing his chirp, and then I heard the female kind of start doing her little purr like a cat
Mhm.
and vibrating the tail. Because I got both bins right next to each other, so they can
Yeah.
see each other. So that's why he starts making noise and she starts doing that.
They sound totally different.
You
It amazes me. I kind of expected her to do that, but she does that purr. It's really kind of cute, but she doesn't do it near as often as he does. She is younger than him, though.
Oh yeah.
Is there any symbolism with them? Do the males look any different than the females at all, or
No, they the males are usually a little
no?
smaller, but they all have.
Really?
My male has a little whiter. His white's a little whiter on the tail, but they are just so cool. Now, this is
What a
another
flash!
species that people brought in wild caught. Now, these are from Thailand. So,
Oh yeah.
people have brought in wild caught. So if you get a wild caught that is healthy enough that can survive, the females, they say, are incredibly hard to keep alive. They said they are very sensitive and have a lot of calcium crashes and so forth. So I'm trying to be very cautious with the one.
Okay.
Mine are captive bred, but trying to be very cautious with that.
Yeah, you got yours from Jim, right?
Yeah, I got him from Jim. He got, I don't know who he got the
Yeah, I've been
female from. I
talking to
meant
him.
to ask him. Joe McDermott.
Yeah.
You and I need to trade when we have
All right.
offspring.
So yeah, for,
And then we can
for sure,
both have to-
definitely. That can definitely. That's it because like I said, I got those, and then I got some Cervidactylus striatus coming in like next 2 or 3 months. Once
Awesome.
the summer wears off, and because they're coming from UK.
Yeah.
So, but that's gonna be a totally different experience. From what Jake said, it was like, yeah, be prepared because they can literally jump 3 inches from just a quick stand, not even have to brace yourself or anything. I'm like, great, thanks. It's like they're fast as hell. I was like, all right, no problem, whatever. All right, I
That
got
sounds
this.
like my Europlatus Pikmin.
So-
I wasn't expecting him to be fast, and he about flew through the air and took off running. I'm like, what the? Europlatus aren't supposed to be that fast.
Right?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I got rid of or sold the last of my Lygodactys williamsii because they were so stinking fast.
Oh, yeah.
At 50, I'm a little
those are
slower
fishnet
than
geckos right there. You need a fishnet.
yeah.
Oh man. So what were you saying about the Diplodactyls and how you're getting them prepared for the breeding season?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. My train easily derails.
That's
So basically, I go with the seasons. So as they lay their last few clutches, and in some cases, I will remove the males if the females start looking any, start looking rough or anything, or losing a lot of weight, I'll remove the males early. But our house, my husband keeps our home for the winter on like 64. So as it starts cooling in October,
I like that.
they start getting a cooling cycle. I shorten my UVB cycle to match the days,
Okay.
instead of having such a long
Nice.
UVB cycle. And then
Awesome.
starting earlier in February, even though it's still cool outside, I will usually start leaving their basking spots a little longer and start giving them a little bit longer day cycle and slowly ramp it up. I pretty much let the temperature and the lighting, or the room temp and the lighting, take care of most things. The summer we're at 74 in the house. So I have to be really careful with the UVB with my Europlatus because they don't like the 80-degree temperature. So I keep my Europlatus all behind me here. These are the cooler species over here. And then all my Diplodactus and my fat tails and anything that requires heating pads on this side of the wall. In my,
Okay.
well, between my PVC stack and my other bins. But I try to do
So
it.
are you going with a yeah? Do you go with a hard cool down, or is it like kind of soft cool down where you're still feeding them a little bit, or you kind of just moving them off food for like a month or two?
So I haven't taken them completely off food yet. Last year they weren't mature, so I didn't
Okay.
completely stop feeding them. Well, some of my Diplodactus were. I just didn't. I wasn't planning on breeding them until this spring, so I thought let them get more weight on them. But I slow back. I go back to feeding them once a week as it starts cooling down.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
Now, how about you?
Okay.
How do you do it?
For my stroke, I just like I said, I do the natural, whatever my local temperatures are.
Yeah,
So it doesn't really get cool around here until like end of November,
yeah.
December. That's when it actually starts getting cool. Yeah, it stays warm in Arizona. It'll be in the hundreds probably in October. So it
Bless your
stays.
soul, brother. Because I thought I liked the heat until this week, man.
Nope.
Hit 101 and it changed my whole life.
Yeah, see. But once it gets cold, I open up all the windows. I'm adjusting their heat. I'm
Yeah.
giving them a lower wattage of heat. Adjusting the light cycles like you. So instead of being on for like 12, 14 hours, UVB's only on for like maybe 4 hours a day during the winter, and I'll leave their heat light on for maybe 8 hours, and then everything shuts down. I don't spray as hard because I consider the winter cycle is
Yep.
like it's cold and dry,
Yep.
and then once it starts warming back up, it's a wet and warm. So I don't spray as much, very light. Um, and then now with feeding, just a little bit lighter than I would go. So because like you, I do cohab my stropharis. Uh, So during breeding season, I pretty much give them what they can take down, and then during their like their brumation, semi-brumation, they'll probably get like maybe 2 or 3 crickets every few days. Like Monday and Friday, I'll probably give them a couple crickets.
Yeah.
During the week, they just kind of just chill out, and then and after that, then like I said, once because January it starts warming back up again for me, like January, February bump up the heat, bump up the light cycles, start doing a little heavy feeding. And next you know, you start seeing copulation.
Yep.
I have a
So the
question for
only ones
both of
that I
you
don't
guys. Now,
cohab.
I don't.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll ask you later.
I was just going to say the only ones I don't cohab through the winter are my fat tails and my Sakura because the males will drive them
Okay.
bat crazy. So everyone
Yeah,
else.
I've heard like your platists, they love to like just the males like just love to try to mate all the time.
Yeah.
So I understand that one. I didn't know about the fat tails, but,
Hmm.
but go ahead, Ant. What were you about to say?
My question is for both of you guys about sand substrate. Now, we all know stone acts as a thermal mass. I've always been curious with species that are kept on sand, if you guys find it any harder to get a gradient than it would be if you had dirt. Do you find that the heat lamps heat the sand and you get a consistent temperature throughout the tank, or how does the sand affect your guys' temperature throughout the season, or does it at all?
Well, so
Go ahead,
for
Stephanie.
mine, I've got, like I said earlier, I've got half of the tank is solid sand, and you can touch that sand and feel it's warmer than the rest of the tank.
Yeah,
And if I bring my hand or my thermal gun to the front where it's the dirt, you're going to see that temperature difference. So I can still have a temperature variant in the front versus the very back, because these
that's how
are
you.
18 inches deep. But
Hmm.
for the
Yeah.
ones, I have had some of them that were just total sand. And you can,
Yeah,
mine warms up pretty much through the entire thing. I don't know.
that's what I'm saying. Imagine those species have warmer night temperature, so it'd be kind of harder to get a temp drop like.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it would be natural to them anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But you obviously see what I'm saying. The sand stays warmer almost, so you can't either have to mix substrates like you do, or I don't know. It's just one of those things I always think about. I always am
Yeah.
curious about sand substrates.
Like I said, for me, I mean, I never really had a like. I mean, I put my heat light is in the corner, so and I put like lots of sticks and stuff to kind of cover, so it doesn't get all the way down to the ground. So they kind of just go on that stick and kind of just regulate themselves right there, and then so there's literally almost like probably a 5 or 6 degree difference between all the way down on the bottom to all the way at the top. So
Mm,
at the top, it's usually about like 92 or so. And then when you start scanning it, because I said I got that little thermal thing too, where I start scanning everything and seeing what the
yeah, hell
temps
yeah,
are.
awesome.
Yeah, so the little temp guns, yeah, scan them. So you see, like, all right, that's in the 80s right there, 80s, 80s, 80s. That might be 78 over here. Uh, but I mean, I right now uh most of my enclosures, instead of just being all sand now, they're with sand mixed with peat moss now. So I can get a little bit of humidity, not a whole lot. Like, when they experience the rainy seasons, then it'll kind of boost it up. But even like right now, like it dries out so quick.
Yeah,
I think it's just because of the sand, because it's like almost like a 50-50 mixture. Um, I tried doing like putting some isopods in there. I have like a little area with just like some sphagnum moss. I think them things are dead. So I don't know. We'll see. I gotta go check it out. But
Well,
yeah,
try
I haven't
dwarf
had any.
whites. Dwarf whites can survive anything. Um,
Okay, yeah, I think I put
I
powdered
hear,
orange
I
or
on
I
my
put powdered oranges in there.
bio.
Just I think they're dead or the geckos already ate them. So I don't know. We'll see. Once I break down a lot of these cages after the summer, because once breeding season's over, I end up kind of breaking down cages
yeah.
and uh, taking out the substrate, putting in fresh stuff, doing a nice deep clean. Uh, Especially with these chihuahuas, I'm gonna end up taking everything out. There's a bunch of mealworms and superworms in there, but take it all out, put some new stuff in,
Yep.
and maybe try to go for maybe actually add some plants in this time. Well, we'll see.
Well, and they
I'm
crap
not the
on
biggest
everything.
plant
So
guy.
you've got to make sure you clean.
Yeah, they
so,
are. Oh
you
my god, yes. Chauffeurs are shitting machines like all over the top. It's like holy shit, dude. And then like because on some of mine, because I got most of my all my chauffeurs actually they're all in PVC, all in black PVC. So if you don't look under the lip on the top part, all this shit, just
Yeah.
nothing but shit right there. I'm like, dude, what the hell? You've been busy. So it's just
Oh, people
scraping,
used to get
scraping,
on the
and cleaning
doors
all
and
that
crap
stuff
on
up.
the doors. I'm like, come on. I just cleaned
Yeah, they'll
this.
do that too. Exactly. Yeah, they're like, oh, this is clean. I need a shit. It's
No,
like,
My
all
no
right,
experience
man.
in the water bowl. I put fresh water in a water cup in any one of these new cow tanks. Guaranteed are crapping in the water bowl.
Now my
Yep.
pictas do that. The pictas will crap in it every time. I don't use water bowls in any of my Europlatus or my Strophurus tanks, but the pictas, they're gonna crap in it and it's gonna stink to high heaven.
Yep. Oh man, yeah, geckos. So for your incubation medium, right? What do you use
Um,
to incubate your geckos?
I'm gonna tell you, I love the Pangea hatchite, or I guess that's what it's called.
Okay, yeah,
It's like the
Yeah.
yeah,
gravelly because the reason I like it is because it changes color, and you can tell if you need to add
yeah.
more
And,
water. So if it's starting to get light, I'm like, because those I lay the eggs directly on it,
yeah,
and I'll just divot out a
nice.
little hole and put it in there. Um, I just don't want it to. I have lost a few eggs because I let it get too dry. So
Okay,
as soon
yeah.
and that was when I had it on the white. I don't know what brand it was. The white hatch stuff that's
The
light
hatch,
as a
right?
feather. Maybe that's what the hatch, right?
Might be
Yeah.
that.
But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah.
the
So I
Pangea best,
yeah,
and I
and I
use
use
that for
both of
everything.
those. Okay. Yeah, I use those. I use both of those. I use the hatch right for my like the Stropharis and stuff like that, and I use the Pangea hatch for my Chihuahuas. But I also put for them, I also lay like a little layer of sphagnum moss too.
Oh, okay.
Like I haven't literally have not had to add any water or anything to the that Pangea hatch like this entire breeding season.
So do
It was
you
crazy. Like I was like, oh
put holes in your holes in your hatch cups or whatever you're using? No.
no,
I don't
nope.
either.
I
I was
usually
like John
try and
told
drill.
me it's like don't even do it.
Yeah. I usually
Yeah,
try
so
and drill
John told me not to
one
do
like
it, so I was like, okay,
1/8 inch hole, and that's it. And
yeah. And then like for the Chihuahuas, I just got that little egg ink thing that you get from Pangea or Exoterra. Sorry, I
yeah,
just take the little thing out, put the Pangea hatch in some soaked up sphagnum moss, and then put little divots in. Same thing for the
Why
Chihuahuas,
yeah.
didn't
and
you
then
tell me that, Jay?
I
You've
just
been letting
use
me do
these.
it this way and didn't tell me, boss, bro.
it- hey, I thought you were doing your
No,
crescent
man,
gecko way.
no moss in there.
Yeah, well, I
See,
mean, I remember I live in a non-humid place.
yeah. See, I just put mine in these
Yeah, so
little
I need all the
seed
humidity I can.
boxes.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what
And
I
if I
used
yeah,
had
to.
them in something bigger, I probably wouldn't have to add water.
yeah.
Hmm.
But
And
when
generally,
I
how long does it take for them to hatch?
so at 81.4, we're doing around. Let's see here, a little less than 60 days.
Okay, nice. So pretty much almost Stropharis like. Yeah, because I know
Yeah,
mine
I
are
think
about 55 days or so.
my my Strophurus have been going in the 70s and 80s, and I've found it really strange. I don't know what's causing that.
Yeah.
The Ciliaris went almost 90 days. And I don't
Yeah.
know if it's because of the
Oh wow.
81.4 or
What are yours,
Possibly. I don't know.
Jay?
I was incubating at between 82 and 84 degrees,
For how many days?
and for the Stropharis, it was usually between 50 and 60 days. Usually, it hits around 55 days.
Wow.
Yeah, my
Huh.
Ciliaris did take a little bit longer. I think it took about 62 days or so.
yeah.
But yeah. And then, like I said, my Chihuahuas they take they go from like 70 to 90 days.
Yeah.
That's just because I put them in an incubator.
82.
I don't, yeah, about 82 degrees. I say because I don't I don't room incubate my Chihuahuas. I put them into the incubator.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The only thing I room
Because I
incubate
always
is
heard.
Pictus.
Okay, I didn't even know
So
you could do that with the Pictus.
yeah. So the reason, well, they're just so prolific. It's hard to get them all in the ink. But um, the reason I
Yeah,
chose
that's probably true.
the 81.4 is because the more research I did, the more it looked like you could temperature sex. So trying to lean more toward
Okay.
females versus males, because there seems to be so many males out there. Every time you turn around, there's a male and nobody can find a female. Um,
Right.
that doesn't mean I'll always do it at the 81.4, but they say 82 and 80 to 82 are mostly females, and then 82 to 85 is either a mix or more leans more to the male. There's
Okay.
there's
Yeah, I didn't even
Smog,
know they were.
my
Yeah,
black
that's
boy.
a definitely that's a stunner. That is a looker right there.
His eye is so
So he got
funny when
look.
he
Does he
gets
have like
black.
the?
Those eyebrows.
Yeah, yeah.
Now he
I'm
came
waiting for
from.
mine. I got another mail that I would say I got a mail from Joe. I got a mail from Joe Hup that I'm waiting. That's growing out right now. Like he'll go from like paper white to super saturated black. Is crazy. I'm just waiting for him to grow up because I already got a female for him. I just like he needs to put that size on. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't. Oh, this one right here. That's the one. Yeah. That's a crazy head.
Is that the
Mm-hmm.
one I saw? You had a PVC tank and there was a little black gecko with an orange tail, like looking into the tank. Jay, can you
That's the
find?
same one.
I was looking at it, thinking how awesome it was while I was staring at it. It's almost like jet black with an orange tail, dude.
Yeah. I remember seeing it. This one.
Is that common? Is that common, or is that like a rare? Is this a morph or a mutation of some sort? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. I mean, if com- oh yeah. You're gonna pay like 1,200, 1,500.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's. Oh yeah. Definitely.
I think they're for the
Yep.
best. Though they're trying to get animals into the hands of people that have enthusiasm to work with them. It's not necessarily like some other breeders with a bigger name or a bigger facility maybe have more bills. They just I don't know, but there is a huge difference in certain species. Like you said, as one guy, it's just as credible as a breeder, just as knowledgeable, will sell his same quality animal for 400, and you'll have someone else sell something similar for 1,200. And I've wondered myself why, but I've come to my own
Yeah.
assumption as well.
No, I mean that and. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So I wish everybody was like that, to be completely honest with you. I mean, in a perfect world, I mean, we all want to be treated that way, but it's so easy for others to not give people that courtesy sometimes.
Definitely. So, you said you got a lot of different feeders, correct? Yeah. So, I, crickets are a different demon. So, so what do you like? What's your gut? What's your gut load recipe you like to use for all your feeders?
Mm.
So you grow your own fruits and veggies? Oh, nice. Very nice. Mhm.
What species of roach do you breed? Really? Yeah. I
No.
breed quite a few species myself. I can't find anybody to breed some of them. I have so many questions. I have these giant Peruvian cave roaches, and I've had them for 2.5 years. They just started reproducing now. It took them probably 18 months to fully metamorph into winged adults. And I was literally just in there and found almost a couple hundred babies living in the substrate. And I keep all my roaches bioactive also. And I just can't find any information on them. Everything I find is the same information said differently. And I mean, I don't use them for feeders, I guess. You know, that I keep two or three different species of hissers, orange heads, dubias, lobster roaches. I keep a few species, and that's cool. I never met anybody else that did. It's awesome. Really. I was talking to from Rob, maybe from Roach Crossing. Rob, or you ever hear the Roach Crossing? Do you know what Rob? I think his name is Rob. But I was asking him. You're supposed to send me some stuff, and I got stuff on the wrong species. I guess there's a few species of cave roaches, but not the giant Peruvian ones are a little different. They're actually allegedly an arboreal species as adults. They live in trees, and as nymphs or whatever they're called, live in the ground, and just interesting species. Yeah, cave roach. It doesn't live in a cave. But
How did your wife let you have all these roaches, man?
she doesn't know. Shut up. This thing is like a one.
Oh, oh man.
Yeah, yeah. I control my room. My room stays at about 82 degrees. Uh, for a good chunk of the year, in all honesty. And then in the winter time, when it gets colder, I'll actually almost cool them down too. I give my roaches a winter, if you will. I don't care if they breed. I keep them healthy. I'll drop temps. I'll still use a heat pad on half of the tubs. I keep them in big, I don't know, 6 quart tubs. Um, like I said, bioactive, isopod, springtails, bark, the whole 9 yards. No plants or anything, but and I'll let them cool down a little bit, maybe into the 70s, but then I'll keep a heat pad on half of it in the wintertime. But yeah, it's like night and day with the heat. I mean, summer months come around, these things are like they're on some kind of drug or something. Eh? That's cool. They're on my list. They're on my list of cool species I just haven't gotten yet. They're the place that I get them from. They're not cheap. They want like $65 for 10 nymphs. And again, they're one of those species that takes forever to mature. And after going through that with these guys, I'm like, that's like a huge investment in time and attention. Like I just haven't done it yet. But they're a super cool species. Really, really. Hmm. Yeah, please. Absolutely. Be awesome.
Yeah, I like to hear that.
Mm.
So, oh man,
That's cool. That's
nice.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
someone to kick ideas around with.
Now, do
Mm.
you keep? You said you keep Lucasium Damium as well, Stephanie? Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, those are some of the ones I was trying to get. Yeah, yeah, they're about 600 a pop. Yeah, I think we all have those problems, right? That's why I'm trying to let go of some things right now so I can push some different projects. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
What incubator are you using for that one? Yeah. Which incubator do you use for that one? Okay. Yeah, because the only one I knew that kind of okay. Yeah, the only one I really knew that can get that low is like those what is his name? The Wilbanks incubators, those homeostasis ones. So they're like $1,000 for the smallest one
I had
unit.
that old Exoterra one, the one that opened like a refrigerator. That thing went to
Yeah,
50 something degrees. It had a fan and a chiller. You had to add
yeah.
water to it, but it was that was 58 degrees, I think was the lowest you could go in that thing. 50,
Okay.
58 degrees. It lasted a year, bro. A year that
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
lasted.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I didn't hear great things about that incubator.
Man, they discontinued it. Now I know why. I thought I got because they were selling it for so cheap. And after I had already got it, it came to my house. I was looking up something reviews. I'm notorious for buying something and looking up reviews afterwards. And it
Make yourself mad.
discontinued, dude. Oh man, what a disappointment, man. The day I had to throw that
Yeah.
thing out, I was so mad.
Oh man.
Here,
Yeah.
really?
Oh. Wow. Okay. Okay. Nice. Yeah.
It's one of the best ones I've seen.
Yeah, especially if you can make it work the way you want it to work,
What
without those
Justin
crazy
uses
fluctuations.
that we had on, Justin, that
Yeah.
was talking about that went to Africa. That's what he uses. He bought two of them and he put LED lights in them. He did all types of cool stuff, man. But his are they're super cool, man. Super cool, super functional, and super reasonable. To put them together.
Yeah.
Awesome little setups. I don't know, cool, but mm, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Entry level Willbanks, $1,000.
Yep. Oh man. So I was gonna ask you too. So are you so you don't do this full time, right? Mhm. Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
It's
Nice.
awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do this thing full time. It'll drive me nuts. Maybe like if I retire or something, and then I'll have bunch of spare time to do this and not really worry about, man, I gotta sell some stuff because I gotta pay bills. But right now that ain't gonna happen. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Oh,
Jeez.
okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you
Okay.
vend any shows? Do you vend at all?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, that's understandable. I'm sure I know you're on Morph Market, so how's that been going for you? Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm right there with you. Okay. Okay. Oh man.
Very cool.
So, how have you been with the dorsalis? Yeah. Uh-oh. Mhm. Okay. Have you found them to be kind of difficult to just to keep? Yeah. Yeah. Do you find them difficult to keep, or like they're no? Okay. Because I've heard different things about them. Like they have to have mineral water or something like that, and you can't use like they stress out easily. So I was just trying to figure that out. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I
Nice.
know. I use reverse osmosis. Oh. All right. So reverse osmosis. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I just so out in Arizona, no, we got all these different water stations everywhere. Because it's hot. It's Arizona. It's like 110 right now or something like that. So we got to have water. So 30 cents. Give me a gallon. And I usually fill like 4 or 5 of them up, and I put them in my humidifier and my sprayers, everything else. I mean, never had a issue with it at all. So, I mean, it works for me right now. No, I don't know. No, but I know what you're talking about. Like, I got a buddy that does like car detailing, so he has to fill those big old tanks up as well. He has them on the back of his truck. Me, no, I just get a bunch of little gallon things or those 5 gallon ones. Because for 5 gallons, it's like $1 and some change to fill it up. Or for the little gallon uh, jugs, it's like 30 cents. Use those for everything, for the animals. But, and you got something?
No, I'm just listening about the water, and I didn't know any of that. I use dechlorinated tap water.
Well, I mean, some just a little more easily they can mess with their uh, whatever natural systems a little bit better or worse than others. So that's why I just go with reverse osmosis.
Wow.
Mhm. Okay. Mhm. Okay. Where do you get your snails from? Nice. Where do you get your snails from? oh wow. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I know that's really good for the females. Yeah, I know. Yeah, breeding females love snails. Like you said, that's that calcium that they need. Uh, I wonder how good they are in protein. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely need to get onto that fire brat thing. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I definitely need to get into those. You're probably the second or third person we talked to and brought up fire brats. So I was like,
Yeah.
Definitely need to hop on this fire brat train.
Wally breeds them too. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I tried actually no, I oh no, I tried the flower beetles and yeah, I mean they wouldn't I was feeding them to like the little hatchling Stropharis intermedius. They weren't taking them. They would just get fried from the not fried, but they would because they pretty much stay on the ground and there's nothing but heat on the ground because I do the heat tape on the bottom and then I got UVB on top for them. Uh, and yeah, they just pass away real quick. So I end up just crickets. Like sometimes I'll what's that? No, no, go ahead. What's that? Okay, yeah. Yeah, that would work. Okay. I gotta find those because I could never find them. Okay. I'm gonna have to look. For sure. Yeah. Oh man. All right. So I have one more question and it's since being in this hobby, right? Like so what's been your biggest failure and then what have you learned from it? Oh wow.
Wow. Stillborn? Did it? Oh,
Yeah. Nice.
interesting.
Nice. Oh, yeah, that's rough. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. Yep. Yeah, I mean, if a breeder's not going to help you out, you don't want to get anything from them, anyways. So, because are they going to help you out after you purchase something, or are they just going to ghost you? Yeah, you do want to, you want to be able to keep working with those people and get that information. Yeah. Well, so, well, you definitely did learn, and now you're making those adjustments already. Yeah,
It's awesome.
definitely. I mean, because your experience is it's going to be another person's, lesson right there. So, I mean, thank you for sharing that with us. So how can everybody get a hold of you? All
It's
right,
all.
definitely appreciate that. Of
Mm,
course, yeah. You want to see people succeed. Learn from your failures so they can succeed. I mean, that's how we always want to have it, right? I mean, if it does happen, if you do fail, yep,
absolutely.
definitely love that one. Stephanie, thank you for coming on and sharing all this stuff with us. Like I said, Diplodactylus. No, not a lot of people really work with them, but they are an awesome little gecko, and they're great for people that live in apartments that have very little space. They're perfect for those. So, especially if cool little Australian background, having the outback look, and having these little geckos. They're so small, but they're so adorable, right? And I think, yeah. Oh yeah. I got plenty of them too. Yep. And some of my chihuahuas there. Sometimes. Yeah, that's my chihuahuas right there. Yeah. Leave me alone. I'm gonna bite you. Well, like I said, definitely it was a pleasure having you on. Now, I would love to have you on again. Like I said, we were talking in the background about some Stropheris. I would love to get like a nice Stropheris roundtable and have you on there with that, like that. All right. Well, definitely have a great. No, you're fine. You're totally fine. Like right when I looked at the page. I was like, okay, we're gonna be talking about this. We're gonna talk about this. So yeah, trust me. But we'll definitely have a great night. And I said we'll talk a little bit later. I said I got some different things I need to talk to you about, and we'll go from there. Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank,
Thank
thank
you.
you.